General Ehsan, in the recent clash between China and India, it has created more uncertainty in South Asia. How do you see this, and how will it affect India's strategic design towards Pakistan? Also, what needs to be done regarding the plight of the Kashmiri people? Yes.
2014, when the Indians were going through the general elections, and Prime Minister Modi was the most favorite candidate to become the next Prime Minister of India. And since he had been the Chief Minister of Gujarat, there were two qualities identified about his personality and his performance as the Chief Minister. First was his role in the communal violence in Gujarat and, the genocide of Muslims in Gujarat, because of which now Prime Minister Modi, there was a ban on his travel internationally. He couldn't travel to the United States till as late as 2012 or 13. And he could not get a visa for many other European countries. So this was one aspect of his personality and his profile. The second was that Gujarat, during his tenure as the Chief Minister, had economically progressed very significantly. So when the 2014 elections were being debated, the speculation was, which trajectory will the future Prime Minister Modi take? Will it be the communal hatred trajectory, or will it be the economic progress trajectory? And we all prayed and hoped that it will be the later, and it will be that India will economically prosper and the Gujarat model will be replicated at the national level. However, over the last 5 years, 6 years, we have seen there has been the earlier trajectory. It's Modi, the communalist, Modi, who was responsible for the genocide in Gujarat. It was that trajectory which was to prevail in India. And we saw its impact within India and with India's neighbors. We have seen that today India is at odds. Of course, Pakistan with us, it's a perpetual enmity. And he has tried to project his muscular policy towards Pakistan to his people as a macho leader. But this muscular approach he has also adopted towards Nepal, Sri Lanka, in which there was a change of government in Sri Lanka in 2015, if you recall. And it was attributed to being a regime change by India. And then, of course, we later see its impact in Nepal, even countries like Bhutan, and of course the Awami League, Bangladesh is having difficulty coping with this muscular policy of Modi. Prime Minister Modi, in his hegemonic mindset and his global power ambitions, feels South Asia is his sphere of influence and that nobody else has a right to have relations with any of the South Asian countries, more so China. And that is why there has been very intense diplomatic, economic competition and resistance by India to China's Belt Road Initiative and its economic investment, whether it is the CPAC in Pakistan, whether it is the Belt Road Initiative cooperation with Bangladesh, Sri Lanka, Nepal, and other countries. So this has come on from that time. We found that encouraged by Western promotions of a shining India model, the Modi's muscular approach went a step further, and we first witnessed it in the Doklam crisis in 2017, when the Indians, out of the blue, tried to encroach and tried to block the Chinese in very legitimate Chinese territories on the line of actual control. Of course, the Chinese played it diplomatically, but they realized and they saw through the Indian designs. And now we find that the Chinese were better prepared this time for the Indian game in Ladakh. And please recall that all this time, starting from 2014, as a manifestation of this muscular policy, India has embarked on very significant investment in the development of border infrastructure on the line of actual control, as well as other, including on the border with Pakistan. So the Chinese were watching this, and they were not prepared to accept any change of status quo. Not only was there a physical change of status quo at various places as a consequence of these developments of infrastructure, but there was a huge political change of status quo last year when the Indian changed the status of the Jammu and Kashmir to and repealed Article 35A and Article 370 of the Indian Constitution, which gave a special status to Jammu and Kashmir. And the Chinese vociferously protested against that. But India didn't seem to get the message. Thanks to the Western support in the UN Security Council and in the Western media for the Indian position. Now, of course, the Chinese were better prepared. And with the onset of the spring and summer seasons, they were able to thwart the Indian designs for further ingresses and developments along the line of control. And we have seen the outcome. India stands embarrassed, and they have realized, I hope they have realized, it's my hope, realized the follies of their muscular, combative, aggressive policies towards this neighborhood. With regards to Kashmir, Pakistan must very strongly support the legitimate aspirations and rights of the Kashmiri people. And let me tell you, this is not a short time. This is not a short time activity. The Indians have been trying for the last 70 years to crush the aspirations of the Kashmiri people, and they have not succeeded. And no maneuvering with the Indian articles of their constitutions or any other security or administrative measures will be able to will enable them to crush these aspirations. This is a very strong conviction amongst the Kashmiris and amongst the people of Pakistan. And this is my assessment that the Indian Delhi's approach to Kashmir is security centric. It is administrative. It's not political. It's not based on humanitarian considerations. And such a policy can never succeed against a people determined to safeguard their aspirations. And I am convinced that over a period of time, the Indians will also realize the follies of their policies, and they will be compelled to change these policies.
Mr. Athar, what is your point of argument since you're a senior geopolitical analyst? Please add something.
Yes. I think this is a very important question. First, I give my assessment, then I will ask General Saab to finally close the discussion with his approach and his recommendation to Pakistan. We are really, I think, we are not, I would say, we are expecting, in terms of strategic expectation, that after humiliation and surrender to Chinese, India would definitely try to show that the symbolical machoism to Pakistan through a false flag operation like they did in last year, February, or try to accuse Pakistan against of something within mainland or in Indian occupied Jammu and Kashmir. So we think that India, after de-escalating from there, would definitely like to do something in Gilgit-Baltistan or in AJK, but because of the rhetoric which has been fueling since last year August, the rhetoric has really mounted in a way in which it is forcing Indian generals, even the chief of defense, he passed many non-professional comments, and also their air chief. So definitely this is my concern as well as a Pakistani. And I'd like to ask General Saab that then he can close the discussion, that what is his views on that and how actually Pakistan should respond to.
Okay, thank you. I'd like to say two things on this before I say some concluding words. First is the impact of the Hindutva ideology on the Indian armed forces and its visible manifestations that we are seeing. Whether it is their present chief of defense staff, whether it is their service chiefs, or whether it's their other senior military commanders, they were already concerned in India and internationally that this ideology of Hindutva is penetrating into the ethos of the Indian armed forces. And we found that one of their ex-army chief is a vice minister. Several of them have joined BJP. And so we find that the attitude of the Indian military commanders and their statements are more, representative of the RSS, VHP, BJP thinking. And of course, one aspect is they're trying to please their political masters. But second is this ideological shift that has emerged in the thinking and attitudes and behaviors. And as I said, the whole ethos of the Indian armed forces, which previously we thought, because of their colonial experience and heritage, were more secular in their approach and were more apolitical in their approach. So this is the first thing that you have to see in these statements and in these. The second thing is that if India has to embark on a military adventure against Pakistan, that will have to be based on the realities, on the military realities and capabilities of India and Pakistan. And if our capabilities, our ability to deter such an adventure was not adequate, then you can expect India to come in any time. But the Indians very well know it, that we have a potent deterrence capability, and that any attempt they make will be repulsed, and they will have to, again, they will stand humiliated, as happened on 27th of February 2019 after their violations of our airspace. But as I mentioned the earlier point, the impact of Hindutva. Now, the Indian military also, instead of speaking on professional, realities of the military situation, are speaking politically to please their political masters, and address the domestic audience. So, I'm sure in more, in their own, when they're more deliberate in their consideration, they would realize that they can only do fake encounters, or fake, as we saw last year, the phony strikes. But an actual military adventure against Pakistan, in my view, would not be feasible given the force, the military ratios, and the capabilities of Pakistan's deterrence.